Do you want to be the ultimate assassin who can creep up on enemies and then begin to slash them, getting the damage going? Well, you have flexibility with a bow as well as your agile blades, and the movement speed to dart around and slash your foes, dealing damage. So let's go over it. Okay, when it comes to your race, there are a few more optimal sort of races to go for an assassin. However, I am a big proponent of picking whatever you want. You've got to play as this character for 50 to 100 hours, so choose something you want to be. You want to be an orc? Go for it. You want to be a Breton? Go for it. That being said, if you do want the more min-max option to be as powerful as possible, then here are your options I would suggest. And we start with the Dark Elf. Now Dark Elf is really good because they have a good integration of sword, bow and destruction magic, also resistant to fire and can summon an ancestral ghost. If we look at this in more detail, they have good strength, good agility, which helps with their sort of quicker blades. Now if we switch between the Vardenfell and the mainland, you will see there is no big change to either of those. So they've got good speed, good agility, which will affect your daggers and short swords, and then strength if you do want to use a long sword for some reason, but I would suggest using your quicker blades. And then when it comes to your skills, again, they're really good. Plus 15 to blade. They've got a plus 15 to destruction, so if you want to throw around some frost or some fire, you could. Plus 10 to light armor, plus 10 to marksman. So they can really integrate between the whole using blades and then using a bow type thing. The downside to the Dark Elf is their sneak and security isn't the best. Now if we move to one of the next options, and that is the Khajiit. Khajiit are amazing. If we come to the top, you will see good agility, good speed, good strength, good intelligence, good personality. Now the difference between the Anquinea and the Paladin, if we come to them, less strength with the Paladin, whereas with the Anquinea, they will have less endurance. Me personally, endurance is really important for any class, so if you are going to go for this one, I would go with the Paladin. Good agility, based at 15, making them really good with the quick blades. And if we check out the skills, plus 10 to athletics, plus 10 to blades, plus 15 to hand. No magic, unfortunately, but plus 15 to acrobatics, plus 10 to light armor, plus 10 to sneak, and plus 10 to security. So when it comes to an assassin, the Khajiit is probably up there with being my favourite. The other option I would suggest looking into would be the Wood Elf. Now the Wood Elf, mainly designed around being an archer, and if we check out the stats between the Grantwood and the Reaper's March, you'll see good agility, good speed. If we go over to the Grantwood, same thing, good agility, good speed, but the Grantwood has 40 endurance compared to the Reaper's March. So if you did want to go for the Grantwood, I would suggest taking if you did want to go for Wood Elf, I would suggest the Grantwood origin, just to get that extra 10 to endurance, which will help your health pool. Now when it comes to the actual skills, you'll see, when it comes to bladed stuff, there isn't much. However, plus 15 to alchemy, which is one of the skills we'll be taking. Plus 10 to acrobatics, plus 10 to light armor, plus 15 to marksman, plus 15 to sneak. So not only do they make good stealth archers, they could really make good hand-to-hand, sort of like sneaky assassins, and you just have to bump up the other stats. Okay, when it comes to your birth sign, the two I would suggest here would be the Thief, Fortify Agility, this is going to help with your small bladed damage, and Fortify Luck. Luck because it is a really hard skill to level. For every level up you get 12 points. Taking your luck up by 1, you need to use 4 of those points. So an instant plus 10 is a great start. And speed, obviously, speed allows you to get around the battlefield quicker, and what says assassin like darting in and out. The other option, if you don't want to take the stat increase, would be the Shadow. This allows you to use Moon Shadow once a day to grant invisibility for 60 seconds. This can be really good for either getting out of danger or sneaking into danger, so you can land those critical backstabs, the fun things like that. So those would be my two suggestions. If you take something like the Wood Elf or the Dark Elf, you might want to take this one to just boost your agility so you deal some melee damage quicker. If you take something such as the Khajiit, you might want to take Moon Shadow so you can use invisibility. But as you go through the game, you can pick up spells that will do this, so not really that important in my personal opinion. This would be my first choice, the Thief, but the Shadow's a good backup. And then when it comes to your class, we do want to make our own. Obviously, you can come in here and there's an assassin here, which uses some really good ones in my opinion. However, there are a few I would change. So we are going to create our custom class, and for this, we want to focus on stealth as our specialization. Now, this will give you two favorite attributes, as you will be well aware, and I would personally take agility. Again, this affects your damage with daggers, short swords and bows. It will also increase your maximum fatigue and define how quickly you regenerate fatigue, which is a really nice ability for the game. After this, I would either go with speed, as this will determine how fast you move, helping you get around the world quicker, all sorts, or endurance to help out your health pool. Now, obviously, you're not going to be using a shield or anything like that, you are going to be taking some damage. Using this might be the best way to just bump up your health pool, help you regenerate health in between combat, all sorts of stuff. So choice is really yours. If you trust your melee skills and your ability to play the game, maybe go with speed. If you think you might need just a little bit of help, then take endurance. And then we get our 7 skills. Now for this, as I said, we're focused on agility type skills, so we are going to take bladed weapons. What this also means is, as we go through the game and we level up our blade skill, our bladed heavy attacks will actually apply weakness to enemies, meaning we can take them down quicker, and what our assassin's good at? Taking enemies out ASAP. Now after we've done this, we want to move over to the stealth section, and we're going to take light armor. What assassin wears heavy armor? None. At least none I can think of. So we're going to take light armor because it ties thematically. Light armor you get really easily, and especially at the start of the game. This is just a really good thing to take early on. We're also going to take sneak, so we can actually sneak through things. We can also pickpocket, but sneaking allowing us to get those backstabs, all sorts like that. Really good skill. This will also have out of combat as well, because you can sneak into like houses, all that sort of thing. Now to go alongside sneak, we are going to take security. Being able to open locked doors and containers, really nice early game. Obviously I know you can negate this late game with the skeleton key, but if that's not what you're looking to do, then I would personally take this. I'm going to take marksman because assassins use bows, and in this game, bows are really good. This also means you could tie into being like a stealthy archer, but still an assassin. So you can focus on your bow, let the enemies get towards you, and then take them out that way. Now, there's a few other things we're going to focus on. Alchemy, because what type of assassin isn't complete without being able to make like poisons and potions and that sort of stuff? So alchemy is the next one on our list. And then to help us in combat, we're going to take illusion, allowing us to charm enemies, to paralyze them, all sorts of things you'd expect an evil or good assassin to do on the battlefield. So as we break this all down, we're going to go with this again. We're taking stealth as our specialization, agility and endurance as our favorite attributes, and then our major skills are going to be alchemy, blade, illusion, light armor, marksman, security, and sneak. Now again, let's just go over these. As you can see, as you level your skills up, as I said with the blade, you will have the ability to have power attacks deal more damage, they'll become more durable, and your power attacks will apply weakness to enemies with your normal weapons. As you go through further, you can also apply the chance to do bleed. Really good assassin-based stuff. With alchemy, as you go through it, you're able to potentially craft additional potions. You can recognize the ingredient properties, all sorts of fun things like that. Illusion will allow you to obviously upcast your illusion spells, and these can be very helpful. Really good for like silencing enemies, commanding them, paralyzing them. Really good things that can help you assassinate the battlefield. Light armor means your armor will degrade slower as you go through it. It will no longer encumber you. It will increase your protection. Really good things because we won't be using things like a shield or anything like that. Marksman is incredible as you level up. No longer consume fatigue while drawing a bow. Can potentially paralyze the target. This fits very nicely in with our illusion-based spells. And once an enemy is paralyzed, obviously you can run in really quick with your speed and agility, take him out with your daggers or your short swords, and then hide again. Security, obviously, really good for picking locks. gain access to loot, shortcuts, all that sort of thing. And then sneak. Again, this is obviously, sneak will allow your sneak attacks to be a lot more deadly. Perfect for an assassin with the daggers and with the bows. Make less noise while sneaking and all sorts. So combined, these are just some incredible skills to take to make the ultimate Oblivion assassin. Do you want a Barbarian build that will let you take out your enemies, applying weakness if need be, slashing them within a few hits? Just like that, then do I have the Barbarian build for you, especially if you like things like Baldur's Gate and stuff, so let's go over it and we'll start with the character creator. Okay, when it comes to your race, the main thing I always say is pick who you want to be. Even if you want to pick a Breton who are full of magic, and let's be fair, Barbarians typically aren't full of magic, you can, and then you just pick your other skills that way. Like, play whatever you want to play as. If you do want a more min-max or optimal one, here are your options. Number one has to be the Orc. Why? Berserker Rage. Essentially, once per day for 60 seconds, you can double your damage and take half damage. This is probably the closest thing to a typical like Baldur's Gate Barbarian Rage you will find. If we check out their stats, high strength, high willpower, high endurance, like looking at the skills, you've got a bunch of really awesome stuff. Next on the list is, of course, when I can see them, here I went past them, the Red Guard. Again, these guys are very, very frontline orientated. In my other builds, I've called them what I consider like the beginners and like melee class, and I stick with that. Again, awesome option to have. Useful for really lots of different weapons and armors. Great constitution, their resistance to disease and poison. Screams Barbarian. And then your final option, I like the Nord. The Nord, again, really, really awesome frontline characters. They've also got that resistance to cold, and when you think of Barbarians, you think of them living in like huts and in the wild, that type of thing. So resistance to cold, thematically, I think fits so well. But if you want the most optimal, in my opinion, it has to be the Orc. When it comes to your birth sign, the most obvious one in my opinion is a warrior. Endurance and strength. Strength is going to affect your damage with like bigger weapons like your longswords, your warhammers, that type of thing. Endurance is all about your health and how big your health pool is, how quickly it regenerates. So for me, the warrior is the go-to. However, if you didn't fancy the warrior, you could also go with the lady. Fortify willpower, fortify endurance. Willpower not necessarily the best for this build. Endurance is obviously good, so that's why I say you could go with the lady. There's also the Lord. Gain shield and resist magic, and this will just boost your armor rating by 15 and your magic resistance by 15%. This is really useful if you need a bit more defensive capabilities, but in my opinion, the warrior is still on top. So if you're looking for the ideal birth sign, warrior first. If you don't fancy that, go with the Lord, and then as a really big backup, the lady. But I don't see why you'd pick the lady over the warrior personally. So ideally, the warrior or the Lord. And then we get to our specialization. Now for this, we are going to create a custom class, and of course, we're going to start with combat. We don't need magic, we don't need stealth. We're all about just hitting things as hard as we can. That brings us very nicely to our attributes, and obviously, strength is going to be our number one. Affects the amount of damage you deal with longswords, claymores, maces, war axes, battle axes, warhammers, and your bare hands. Defines how much you can carry, and slightly increases your maximum health. So this is key. The only thing this doesn't work on is your smaller weapons like your daggers, your short swords. This is all done by agility. The next thing we're going to take is endurance. Again, that's why this is so important. If you took the warrior, we take strength and endurance anyway. They tie in so nicely together. Greatly increases your maximum health and defines how quickly you regenerate health out of combat. Again, really awesome skill to have. And then we get our major skills, and obviously we get to pick 7. Most of these are going to be combat orientated. So we're going to start with Blade. Affects how much damage you deal with blade weapons. We're also going to take Blunt. So we can use whatever weapon you want. If you want your Barbarian to use a Claymore, you can. If you want your Barbarian to use a Warhammer, you can. If you want your Barbarian to just use a little axe and a shield, you can. Lots of really good options here. We're also going to take Block. Affects how much damage you negate when blocking an attack. Really, really key because we're not going to be using heavy armor. So blocking is perfect. This will be with shields, weapons, whatever you need. Now, based on that, we are going to come to the stealth section and we're going to take light armor. Because how many times do you see a barbarian wearing heavy armor? I don't think I've ever seen one. Light armor all the way. Now, we've still got 3 more skills we can pick from. So, we're going to come back to combat, and I would recommend hand to hand. This is boosted by your strength anyway. Sometimes you just need to fist people. So, hand to hand, the way forward. I would personally take armor, because barbarians, when you think about them, probably fix up their equipment themselves. Equipment in this game can break very quickly, so being able to maintain your weapons, fix them even better, stop them from degrading, I think is just perfect. So armor all the way. And then that leaves us with one last skill to pick from, and honestly, it's kind of dealer's choice at this point. I wouldn't really recommend things like acrobatics and athletics, because these will build up quickly anyway, so you're going to sort of power level without having the sort of like DPS or the like defensive capabilities to handle higher scale characters, because your athletics and stuff have increased. So in my opinion, avoid magic, and it's kind of any of this. You could take marksman if you wanted to. Barbarians might use a bow, so this would probably be my choice. If you wanted to, you could maybe take sneak, because barbarians, I can imagine, as much as they run brute force and want to destroy things, they will still set up things like ambushes and stuff like that. So, choice is really yours. I would either go with marksman or sneak. I'm just going to take marksman, so at least we've got some range capabilities. Okay, so let's go over these quickly. As you can see, as you can go up the list, when it comes to armor, the more you upgrade this, the better your stuff is. So for example, with apprentice, you can fix magic items. Journeyman, your repair hammers last twice as long. At expert, you can repair things beyond their maximum durability, and your weapons will your improved weapons will deal more damage. Armors protect you more. Amazing for a barbarian build. And at master, your repair hammers never break, meaning you can just always fix up your stuff. With blade, this is what you saw me using earlier. Power attacks will deal more damage. Eventually, power attacks can apply weakness to enemies as well as bleed as you level this up. And then when you get to master, your weakness to normal weapon is applied on power attacks is even stronger. So effectively, the more you level this up, not only do you deal more damage, but your power attacks debuff enemies, and you can cause bleed. Perfect. When it comes to block, your shield weapon loses durability when you block an attack. Your shield weapon no longer loses durability when you block an attack. Block an attack consumes slightly less fatigue. Block an attack consumes even less fatigue. You can form a shield bash by pressing R2 while blocking, which is a great little skill. And at master, block an attack consumes almost no fatigue, and your shield bash deals more damage. This is awesome because it means if you block, you don't lose the fatigue to then, counterattack almost. With the blunt, this is slightly different to weapons. So power attacks will deal more damage, and blunt weapons are more durable. As you level this up, power attacks actually grant you shield, not apply weakness. And I think this is awesome, especially for a barbarian build where we're using light armor. Being able to, have a shield on yourself is just incredible. So when it comes to a barbarian build, I would personally take bladed weapons, and things like axes count as take blunt weapons. And things like axes actually count as blunt weapons, even though they've got a bladed edge. It's really weird. But yeah, this would be my choice. Hand to hand, your attacks additionally deal fatigue damage, and you do not recall armed opponents when blocking their attack. As you level this up, power attacks deal more damage. Your power attacks have a chance to disarm your opponents, which is incredible. And then as you keep doing this up, you'll deal even more fatigue damage. So you can not only fatigue your enemies, you can also cause them to drop their weapons, which is phenomenal. Light armor. As you level this up, it means your armor degrades slower. And then at the end, you get it where it no longer encumbers you. And when you're wearing only light armor, your protection isn't greatly increased. So light armor plus the shield from the blunt weapons, plus the fact you can do armor and make your weapons and armor protect you even more. Amazing for tanking. And then finally, marksman. This is it's all about consuming fatigue, it helps your focus, and you can potentially cause paralysis. So lots of really good options here. Do you want to be your favourite fast-talking, charismatic, magical bladesmith the bard? Then do I have the build for you? That will let you heal yourself up, throw around magic, deal blade damage, and take enemies out ASAP, as well as get a pretty good deal at the shops. Then do I have the build for you? This is my Bard build for Oblivion Remastered, so let's jump straight in with the character creator. Okay, when it comes to race, as always, pick what you want to play as. You're going to be playing as this character for 50 to 100 hours, so make sure it's something you actually enjoy. If you don't care about that, and you do want a more min-max or optimal race, then we're going to start with the Breton. These are obviously the best sort of magic race in the game. So, if we check out the stats, 50 intelligence, 50 willpower, 50 magicka bonus. These guys are awesome, because when I think of Bard, I think of magic, I think of quick blades like daggers and short swords, and I think of like speechcraft. So 50 intelligence, 50 willpower, 40 personality, 50 luck, 50 magicka. The only downside is agility and speed for those quick nimble blades, 30s, so they are lacking. If you wanted to do that, I would personally suggest going with High Rock, just to get the 40 speed, as opposed to the strength. But again, choice is really yours, because we're not really focused on strength with this build. Your next option, if you want another good race, is the Vardenfell Dark Elf. 40 intelligence, 30 willpower, so not amazing, but 50 speed, 40 intelligence, again, personality kind of lacking, 40 endurance though is really good. Check out the stats, plus 15 to blades, so this is going to help your quick little nimble blades, plus 15 to destruction magic, which is awesome. Alteration is a plus 5, all the other magics apart from mysticism, plus 10, light armor is a plus 10, and then when you can check out the speech stuff, it's severely lacking. The Imperial can also be very good. 40 strength, 40 intelligence, 40 speed, 50 personality, 40 endurance. And if we check out the skills, Blade at a plus 10. We've got, where is it? Destruction plus 5, so a lot of the magics are only plus 5s, but Mercantile and Speechcraft plus 15s. So it kind of depends on what you want to do here. However, in my opinion, I do think the Breton stands out the most, just from the fact it's got a lot of good magic, it's got a lot of really good stats, especially if you go at the High Rock. So this would be my one big choice. Okay, when it comes to a birth sign, there are a few options. The Warrior can be pretty good, fortify endurance and strength. We don't really need strength though, but endurance is always nice. The Thief is really good. Fortify agility, this is your damage with smaller bladed weapons. Speed, again, like I said, quick and nimble, and luck. Luck is really good because it takes more points to level up than any other skill, so this can always be amazing. The Shadow can be really good to turn invisible, because what says Bard like just disappearing into the shadows all of a sudden? And invisibility for 60 seconds a day is really good early game, but I do think this drops off really quickly. The Lady is another really good option, fortify willpower and endurance. Endurance is your health pool and how quick it regenerates. Willpower affects your magic. Again, really good options here. And the Lord. Shield increases your armor rating by 15 and resist magic. Increases magic resistance by 15%. So ideally, you want to be the Lord, the Lady, or the Thief. Now there's two ways you can do this. You could either double down on your key skills. So for example, we picked the Breton. So with the Breton, if we wanted to, we could double down on our magic and take something like the Mage to fortify our magicka even further. We could take the Lady to empower our willpower. Or let's say you took the Imperial, who's all about speechcraft. Then you could take the Thief and boost up your other stats that are lacking to balance everything out. Really is dealer's choice. It depends on what sort of playstyle you want to begin with. Do you want to go all in on a few stats, or do you want to spread yourself evenly? There's no really right or wrong answer in my opinion. Both work tremendously. But for me as a Breton, I would take the Thief. Let's fortify that agility and that luck. Now when it comes to class, we are going to pick our own one. So for this, obviously custom class, and you get to pick your specialization. Combat, magic, or stealth. Now the issue with this is that a lot of these skills, or a lot of the things we need with the Bard, actually tie into each other. So we're taking combat stuff, we're taking magic stuff, and we're taking stealth stuff. Bards are sort of like the jack of all trades, so they have so many skills going for them, And this game is so broken down into each different skill set that it's kind of hard to take everything you need. So we have to be very careful, per se. I would personally take magic. And I'd go next. And then for this, I would take agility. So we're going to boost our damage with daggers, short swords and bows, as well as our fatigue. And I would take intelligence. These would be the two I pick. Obviously, you could also pick personality because that's a big thing for bards. You could take willpower as well for your magic instead of agility. Again, dealer's choice. It depends what you want. Do you want to be more magic empowered? Do you want to be balanced? Do you want to be more swordish and have magic as a backup? You can't really go wrong. Now when it comes to your actual 7 major skills, we have a few options. We're going to take light armor to begin with. I don't think I've ever seen a bard wearing heavy armor, so light armor it is. We're also going to take speechcraft. Speechcraft is obviously really good. Bards are very charismatic, so speechcraft, we need this. There's also mercantile for better goods when buying or trading. This one though, hit or miss. We'll get back to that. When it comes to combat, we do want to take our bladed weapons. Obviously, bladed is going to affect our daggers and short swords, so this is what we really need. And what's really good about this, as you level it up, you'll actually do additional damage, or sorry, not additional damage, you'll actually apply weakness to enemies with your heavy attacks, which will apply additional damage. And then we get to our magic. So the first one is obviously destruction. Destruction being a damage dealing type spells. You could choose to be a bit more buffy and just take like illusion, mysticism, restoration, that sort of stuff. But I think if you are going to play as a bardish character, you at least need some sort of damage dealing spells. So we're going to take restoration because bards make great healers. We know this, especially if we play things like Baldur's Gate. Bards and their healing capabilities are just phenomenal. And illusion. This screams the bard to me. We get the charm. We can conceal, we can create light, silence, paralysis, command, all sorts of fun things. This is just amazing. And the other option, if you didn't want the tradesman one, the mercantile, which I can't say, you could take things like alteration. So option is really yours. Do you want to be able to get better trades in the shop, or do you want alteration? As much as this fits thematically, I actually don't think it's that needed. And I do think having the ability to breathe or walk on water, open locks, reduce encumbrance, shield yourself is way more important to a bard. So let's go over that again. We're going to be taking magic as our specialization, intelligence and agility as our favored attributes, and then for our skills, alteration magic, blade, destruction magic, illusion magic, light armor, restoration magic, and speechcraft. Now if we just go over these, when it comes to blade, the more you level this up, the more durable your weapons become. Your power attacks will apply weakness, and you get the chance to apply bleed, all really good stats. Obviously with your magics, the more you level this up, the higher level spells you can cast. When it comes to destruction magic, the spells themselves, the higher the spell, the more damage it does. This isn't affected by anything else. Same with restoration, you can cast greater healing spells, which can be very helpful. When it comes to light armor, the more you level this up, the slower your armor degrades. It will then provide no encumbrance, and then afterwards, exclusively light armor will protect you is greater. So the protection you gain from this, the more you level up, is even greater. It will last longer, it won't encumber you, really good stuff. And when it comes to speechcraft, as you can see here, deposition decreases more slowly over time when trying to persuade a character. You can rotate for free once when trying to persuade a character. Bribes cost less, deposition no longer decreases. So the more you use this, the more it levels up and provides even better stats as well. When it comes to RPGs, are paladins your favourite? How about a dark paladin? One that will let you summon a skeleton, or even a scamp. One that will let you have some restoration magic, but also be able to hit enemies as hard as you can. Maybe even throwing out a little bit of frost damage when need be. Well, let me go over my Dark Paladin build for you guys for Oblivion. We're going to go over all the ways to start the game, like the different types of characters you can build, we're going over the nice little combinations, the items and spells I'm using, so let's show it off. Okay, when it comes to race, I'm a firm believer, pick what race you want. You want to play as this character for 100 odd hours, you want someone you want to play as, whether it's you put yourself in the game, you like being orcs, whatever. If you don't care and you just want to be someone really powerful, here's a few options. The Breton is really good, as these are really good like summoner healing spellcasters, meaning you only really have to focus on your strength and like hand to hand and like blades, that sort of thing. So Breton's really good, and you can, like I said, you can balance it out as you go through with your more sort of like melee abilities. The Dark Elf is really good as well. Obviously, good with a sword, destruction magic, which is two of the things we're taking. You would have to work on things like their blunt and like the heavy armor, stuff like that. But Dark Elf's another solid choice. The Red Guard is probably the best sort of like melee type starting background or race. So again, taking this, have good constitution, you know, focus on weapons and armors as it says here, and then you need to just really focus on the magic as you go through the game. The reverse is with the Wood Elf. These guys are really quick and nimble, so if you wanted to, you could take this. Probably doing yourself a little bit of an unfavour though, if you want like a really easy start. The other option is the Orc. I personally, if you do want like a really good like min-max start, Orc probably isn't the best bet because their magic is so poor. So if you really do want to just go for something big, the Breton, the Dark Elf, or the Red Guard. The other option is the Nord. Now these guys are really good warriors, so they're really good in the front line. But interestingly, they have a plus 15 to restoration at the start, which is very paladin-like. Really good at capabilities at healing. So Nord is also a very good shout. Now when it comes to birth signs, there are also two to go for. I went for a Breton in my personal playthrough that I'm doing on stream, and then I went for the Warrior. So the Warrior, fortify endurance and strength. Strength is obviously really good for your hand-to-hand, like hitting people with your weapons. Endurance, because that's key for almost every build in this. So for example, I went for the Breton, good magic skills, balance it out with the Warrior. You could do the reverse when it comes to the Mage. This will fortify your Magicka, so you could take the Red Guard and then take the Mage to pair them together, for example, meaning you've got all the really good combat prowess, and then you've also boosted your Magicka at the start of the game. There is also the Apprentice. From the Apprentices, you are going to be a bit more of a glass cannon, so if this is your first playthrough, or you're just testing the build out or something, maybe not the best one to go for. I personally would either stick with the Warrior or the Mage. If you really wanted to, you could do the Atronach, but then you'd have to remember you need to redo your Magicka regeneration personally through spells or potions, that sort of thing. So if you played this game before and you want to try this build out and you are really good with your item management and your like Magicka regen management, Atronach is a really, really good one to go for. The increased Magicka by 150 and the 50% chance to absorb spells. So those would be my personal three, depending on how comfortable you are with sort of the mechanics of the game. And then it comes to your class. Now you could just pick your own class here. You could go with the Knight, for example. This is what I personally went with before I started really like respecing it. Crusader is also really good. However, I would personally recommend creating your own one and picking the combat specialization. Because we are going to be a melee frontliner, but we also want to have the ability to heal, and we also want destruction magic and conjuration. So we're going to start with the combat, and that'll bring us to our attributes. Now for me personally, strength and endurance. Yes, we're throwing around magic, so we do need willpower. We do need intelligence. But the bulk of us is going to be running in with a claymore, with a warhammer, with a longsword, whatever you want to use for your build, and smacking people as hard as you can, and throwing around spells when you need to, summoning your skeleton or your scamps, that sort of stuff. So strength and endurance are the personal two I would pick. Endurance is going to be your health pool and how quickly your health will regen, and your strength, as you can see, affects the damage you deal with longswords, claymores, maces, war axes, battle axes, warhammers, and your bare fists, as well as how much you can carry, which is really important because if we're using heavy armor, our encumbrance is going to be higher. So bear that in mind. Okay, when it comes to your sort of picking your skills, we get to pick 7. And the 7 we are going to go with, we're going to take Blade, because Blade is really good. We need this if you want to use your bladed weapons. We're going to take Blunt, because I know some people like being brutes and having warhammers, Some people like using long swords. This build, you can use either or. We're going to take heavy armor, because what paladin is complete without heavy armor? And I'll show you what armor I'm using for the part of the game I am in, as well as where to get it. When it comes to magic, as I said, we want conjuration. We want to be able to summon those evils, as well as turn undead. Very paladin-like if you, or cleric-like if you've played Baldur's Gate or any other typical RPG like that. We want destruction magic, because what pairs well with like summons and the undead than cold, in my opinion. I think thematically those two just tie together, and as you saw, we are using the snowball spell. We do have the capabilities as well of casting a higher frost-based spell. I just haven't found one. We're going to take restoration, because what paladin is complete without healing capabilities. And then the last one, you have a choice really. There's a few you could take. For example, you could take like speechcraft if you want to be a bit more persuasive. You could take hand to hand if sometimes you just need to throw down. I personally like taking block. I've been using a sword and shield for a lot of the game. I'm now just using a sword because my encumbrance is too high. I need to put some more into strength. But if you do want to be your typical sword and board type person, then block is the one for you. Okay, so let's go over the spells we're using, and we start with Dragon Skin. This is a really good once a day spell that will let you just cast shield on yourself. We're using Heal Major Wounds. Now obviously you will have Heal Minor Wounds to begin with. Heal Major Wounds is amazing. Really good out of combat at boosting your health up quickly, especially while going through like dungeons. We're using Summon Scamp and Summon Skeleton. What's really good about these is summon your skeleton, let it tank a little bit of damage, summon your scamp, let it tank a little bit of damage. In the meantime, you can start swinging with your sword, you can throw your snowball out, whatever you need to do. And of course, as I said before, snowball. Now if we just aim this here, really nice frost destruction based spell. Now when it comes to equipment, if I come to my inventory, you will see we're using the Dwarven Cutlass. Now this stuff is really good, it's nice heavy armor. We're also using steel gauntlets. I need to fix some stuff because I haven't bothered yet. But as you can see, we've got some really good stuff. We're also using the Black Marsh Helmet. Now the Black Marsh Helmet is amazing because it helps with breathing underwater. So yeah, find the Black Marsh Helmet. You can buy this in a lot of places and it's just awesome. Again, we're also using the Dwarven Cutlass. I've got boots for running as well, 4 or 5 athletics. It's not really a big deal. But the Dwarven Cuirass and the Dwarven Greaves are the best things to go for. Weapons wise, we are using a silver longsword. We've also just been using like a steel longsword. Both work really well. If you need to, you can also go two-handed and take like a steel warhammer or a claymore. Lots of really good options. Now, where I got the Dwarven Cutlass, let me show you what is going on here. Anyway, if we come to our map and we go up here, there is a fort just over here when I can find it, called Battlehorn Castle. Now finding this, it is just above the Waynham Priory, so you can get it pretty quickly. Go in here, there is a little side quest, spoilers for the next like 30 seconds, it is under attack. If you go to it, as we will now, it is being raided by some attackers, as you can see the corpses here. Once you have cleared this out, you will actually take ownership of the castle, and if we just wait for a little bit, in fact we might be able to talk to this guard here. If we talk to this one,
yes, sir.
We can get them to follow you. And now you have people who will just follow you around the world, as you'll see here. And this will make the game a lot easier for you. Nice little tip. If you're a WoW fan, let me introduce you to my Death Knight build, which will allow you to utilise their frost powers as well as hit really hard, apply weakness and all sorts, as well as other magics. And you'll see you can take out enemies pretty quick. So let's jump over it. Okay, when it comes to your Death Knight, first thing I'm going to say when it comes to race is play what you want to play. You want to be a Khajiit Death Knight, you be a Khajiit Death Knight. You want to be an Orc, be an Orc. This is your character, you have to play as them for 50 to 100 hours. Be something you actually want to be. If you don't mind about that and you do want the more, optimal or min-maxed race to pick, then let's start. And we start with the Dark Elf and more importantly, the Vardenfell. Now Dark Elves are noted for their balance between swords, bows and destruction magic. Obviously sword and destruction magic, two big things. Resistant fire, really useful because there's so much fire damage in this game. And being able to summon an ancestral ghost is nice. But if we go over the stats, you'll see 50 speed to help us get around, 40 strength, this affects your blade weapons, 40 endurance, this helps with your health pool and your health regen, 40 intelligence, like lots of really good balanced stuff here. And when it comes to skills, a plus 15 in blade is perfect. Plus 10 to athletics, plus 15 to destruction magic, and plus 10 to mysticism, all really good Death Knight like perks that we need to have this thematically. Your next option is the very melee orientated Red Guard. Now the Red Guards are awesome if you come to the top, as for some reason we spin around. You'll see the difference between the Mountain Tail and the Ulkir is strength. So in my opinion, the Dragon Tail is the one to go for. 50 strength, 50 endurance, lacking on the magic side, so bear that in mind. This is something you could counteract when it comes to your birth sign, but bear that in mind. When it comes to your skills, plus 15 to blade, plus 15 to athletics, plus 15 to blunt if you want to mix things up and instead of having a sword have a warhammer, something like that. Plus 10 to heavy armor, also really needed. Lots of really awesome things here. After that we have the Nord. Now the Nord is awesome because really good with melee capabilities. If we look between Eastern and Western, you'll see the difference is willpower versus endurance. So in my opinion, Eastern is a bit more balanced for this build. But 50 strength to help with your blade damage, 40 willpower for your magic. We have 40 endurance for your health pool. If you come to the skills, plus 15 to blade, plus 10 to block. We've got plus 15 to heavy armor. There's a plus 10 to restoration if you want to throw in a little bit of healing magic. Choice is yours. But a really good, just solid option here. And then the next one is the Cistern Breton. So these guys are just pure magic. But the good thing with the Sistress is 40 strength. So this will help your melee capabilities from the start. Unfortunately, endurance does take a bit of a penalty at 30. Again, this is something you can boost if need be, so bear that in mind. But regardless, if you come to their skills, all of the magics, apart from destruction, which is a shame, has some bonus to it. So this is really something to really focus on, and if you did want to take this, you could always take like the warrior birth sign, which I'll go over later, to boost it up. So like I said, when it comes to your birth sign, there are 3 I really recommend here. The warrior, the lord, and the lady. And again, you can pick and choose these. You could double down, and you could go the warrior and the red guard, be super melee orientated, and then work on your willpower and the rest of the magic stuff as you go through the game. You could take the lord. This is very defensive. This is probably my personal favourite one. And then the lady's also really good as well for fortifying willpower and endurance. You could also go with the birth sign to fortify your magicka. Again, it kind of depends what you want to do. You can either double down on one big skill at the start, or keep yourself balanced. I personally like the balanced approach, so in my personal playthrough, I've gone with the Breton and then the warrior, to try and keep things as balanced as possible. But I could have gone the red guard and the warrior, and then worked on my magicka and willpower as we go through. But the warrior to get the fortify endurance and strength, so this will boost your bladed damage with longswords and claymores, and then your health pool and your regeneration. The mage, obviously fortify magicka, increases it by 50 points, really helpful. The lady, obviously fortify willpower, so this is your mana and its regeneration, and your endurance, which is your health pool, and that's regeneration out of combat. And then the lord, like I said, super defensive, increases your armor rating by 15, and your magic resistance by 15. So this is probably my personal favourite one to pick, depending on your stat setup. If you have taken a more balanced class, like you've taken not the red guard, which one is it? Dark elf, for example, then I'd probably take the lord. But again, choice is really yours, but one of these 4 is the best option here. For the sake of this, I will be taking the lord. And then when it comes to your class, we are going to be creating a custom class. Now theoretically, again, you can either go combat or magic, whichever one you prefer. This is dealer's choice at this point. For this personally, I'm just going to take combat because we're going to be using our bladed weapons a lot. And then it comes to your attributes. So I would personally take endurance. Let's get that health pool. Death Knights are super tanky, so let's get that up. Let's get that regen going. And strength. Now if you wanted to, you could take intelligence. Choice is really yours. it's again dealer's choice. If you have really good magicka and stuff, then take intelligence. If you have really good strength, take strength. So this is what I will personally be taking. And then we get to our specializations, or sorry, not our specializations, our skills. And for this, let's go over it. We're going to go with Blade. Blade, we love to hit people with swords. This is amazing. We're also going to take Heavy Armor, because what Death Knight is complete without Heavy Armor. Lots of easy ways to get it in the game. I can show you somewhere to get it as well, which is at a fort, which I'll go over next. After this, we're going to come into our magics, and there's a lot of these we are going to take. We're going to start with Destruction Magic. Let's throw around some cold damage. Let's throw around some big damage dealing spells. We're going to take Conjuration, Summoning Undead, all sorts of fun things like this. We can even turn undead. Awesome stuff. We're going to take Restoration, because what Death Knight is complete without being able to just buff itself up. Also allow you to cure diseases and improve your resistances, which is always nice. Now, we are also going to take Alteration. Really good for obviously reducing your encumbrance, being able to shield yourself, which is huge for this build. And then after this, choice is yours. You could take Mysticism to tap into being able to like reflect damage, being able to bind souls so you can keep powering up your magic weapons. Or you can go Blunt, give yourself more option when it comes to your weapon capabilities. Again, another dealer's choice. Take whatever you think is cooler, take whatever you think you want to use the most. So let's go over these again. When it comes to our combat, we are going to go specialization. We're either going combat or magic. Pick whichever one you prefer here. Favorite attributes, I would always take endurance, and then either strength or magicka. I think it was magicka. Sorry, intelligence. That's what I meant. This will affect your magicka, but one of these, either magicka or sorry, intelligence or strength. And then skills. We're going to go with Alteration. We're going to go Blade, Conjuration, Destruction, Heavy Armor, Restoration, and then either Blunt, or you could take Mysticism. Again, dealer's choice, take what you want here. And now to go over your skills, as you go through, you'll see your Blade will allow you to deal power attacks, which will apply weakness, which, as you saw, helps you take out enemies quicker. It can also, as you upgrade it, help you apply bleed. Blunt will allow your weapons to be more durable, and grant you a shield, again tapping very nicely into our Alteration, stuff like that, as well as silence opponents. Heavy Armor makes your armor degrade slower, makes it no longer encumber you, and it will last for longer. Alteration, obviously the more you boost this up, much like Conjuration and Destruction and Restoration, the more powerful spells you can do. Now in this, spell damage isn't really based upon like your spell level, it's based upon the actual spell itself, which is why things like willpower and being able to boost your magicka and its regeneration is so important. Okay, now very minor spoilers for the rest of the video. So if you're done, you don't want to know where to get some heavy armor easy, you can turn off now. Thank you so much, I really appreciate you guys watching. If you do want to know, then near to where your first sort of start of the game is, here at Waynham Priory, there is a fort just here called Battlehorn Castle. If we go here, now when you get to Battlehorn Castle, it's under siege by some invaders. If you defeat the invaders, as you can see here, you actually get to keep the castle. Now the invaders, every time I've done this, have heavy armor on, and what's really cool is that there's a few man-at-arms here. So I wonder if we can find any. Here we go. If you talk to these, you can actually get them to follow you around the world. So you just have a follower for free. It's really cool. The enemies are very tanky at the gate, so please bear that in mind. But you can get some awesome heavy armor if I just show you here. And you can really just tank yourself up and start dealing out some crazy damage. So I really hope you have enjoyed this build. If you have, please drop the episode a like, it helps me tremendously, and let me know what you'd change, any other skills. Would you change your specialization? What race would you pick? Or just let me know what you think of Oblivion Remastered. What race are you going for? Or not race, sorry, which like build are you going for? Are you going for magic, stealth archer, you know, melee? Let me know, I'd love to hear from you. Regardless, I really hope you've enjoyed. Please subscribe for more. I've got more guides to Oblivion Remastered, to Baldur's Gate, to Path of Exile, to Dragon Age. All the amazing RPGs you could ever need. And hopefully, I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.